The lawyer's words echoed in the sterile conference room, irreconcilable differences. It was a clinical term for a messy, emotionally charged situation that started with a zero. Welcome to Cheating Story Exposed. Please subscribe. My name is Ben, and I'm an architect who prefers blueprints to guesswork, especially when it comes to relationships. I never thought I'd be sitting here staring at divorce papers. It all seemed so avoidable. It began innocently enough with a budget. We'd been married for 7 years, and finances were always a delicate dance. Not that we were struggling, far from it. I made a comfortable living, and so did Anya, my wife, but she liked control, she liked spreadsheets, and she loved asterisk budgeting. Ben, we need to talk about the budget, she'd said one evening, her voice a little too cheerful for my liking. That was always my first red flag. I braced myself. Okay, what's up? She tapped her pen against the laptop screen. I've made some adjustments. That word sent shivers down my spine. What kind of adjustments? I asked cautiously. Well, she began, I've reallocated some funds to savings and other areas. Other areas? I echoed, my eyebrows raised. Like what? She hesitated. Like I've cut back on us time. Us time? I repeated, feeling a knot forming in my stomach. What's that supposed to mean? Date nights, weekend getaways, us time. She waved her hand dismissively. It's a luxury we can't really afford right now. Can't afford? I scoffed. Anya, we both have good jobs. We're not exactly living paycheck to paycheck. It's about being responsible, Ben, she insisted, her voice rising slightly. We need to think about the future, about retirement, about what? I challenged. About sacrificing our present for a hypothetical future that might never even happen, she glared at me. Don't be dramatic, it's just a temporary adjustment. Temporary. I asked, my voice dangerously low. So how much did you budget for us time now? She avoided my gaze. 0. That's right, 0, not a penny, not a dime, nothing. That's when the red mist started to descend. That's when I knew things were about to go to hell. I stared at her, speechless. You're serious? You budgeted 0 for us? She fidgeted. It's not forever, Ben, just until we reach our savings goal. And when will that be? I asked, already knowing the answer wouldn't be satisfactory. When we reach a certain amount, she said vaguely. I felt a surge of anger, but I tamped it down. I'm an architect. I plan, I strategize, I don't react impulsively. Okay, I said calmly. If that's how it's going to be, then fine. Fine, she asked, surprised. That's it, you're not going to argue? What's the point? I said, shrugging. It's your budget, you're in control. But I was already formulating a plan. A very precise, very calculated plan. I decided to fight fire with fire. She could budget 0 for us time. Then I could budget 0 for her. I had access to our joint account, the one she meticulously managed. I knew how to navigate the online banking portal. It wouldn't be difficult. I waited until she was asleep that night, then I crept downstairs to my study. I fired up my computer and logged into our account. I created a new category in the budget, Anya's expenses. And I assigned it a value of, you guessed it, 0. I felt a surge of satisfaction. It was petty, I knew, but it was also liberating. I went to bed with a sense of quiet triumph. She would notice, of course, she was meticulous. But I was curious to see how she would react. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. I made her coffee, kissed her goodbye, and went to work. The day dragged on. I kept checking my phone, waiting for a text or a call. Nothing. By the time I got home, I was starting to wonder if she'd even noticed. Maybe she was too busy with work, or maybe she was just playing it cool. I walked into the house and found her in the kitchen, slamming cabinet doors. Definitely not playing it cool. What's wrong? I asked innocently. She turned around, her face flushed. You tell me, she snapped. I have no idea what you're talking about, I said, feigning ignorance. Don't play dumb with me, Ben, she yelled. I saw the budget, you zeroed out my expenses. Aha, she noticed. Oh, that, I said casually. Yeah, I figured if we're not spending any money on us time, then we shouldn't be spending any money on you. Her eyes widened in disbelief. You're serious? As a heart attack, I said, nodding. Tit for tat, Anya, tit for tat. She launched into a tirade, accusing me of being childish, vindictive, and controlling. I listened patiently, waiting for her to run out of steam. And what about my hair appointment? She finally shrieked. And my yoga classes and my new shoes? Sorry, I said, shrugging. Budget's tight. You can't do this, she screamed. I need those things, and I need us time, I retorted. But apparently that's a luxury we can't afford. She stormed out of the room, muttering about how I was ruining her life. I felt a pang of guilt, but I quickly squashed it. She started this. She drew first blood. That night we slept in separate rooms. The tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. The next day I decided to do some digging. I needed to understand why she was so obsessed with saving money. What was she planning? I knew she had a secret credit card, one she used for personal expenses. I'd seen the statements before, but I'd never really paid attention to them. Now I decided to take a closer look. I waited until she was at work, then I logged into her email account. I knew her password. She wasn't exactly the most security-conscious person. I searched for credit card statement and found the latest one. I opened it up and started scrolling. At first it seemed normal, groceries, gas, the usual stuff. But then I started to notice a pattern. Small, frequent purchases from various online retailers. I clicked on the transactions to get more details. Designer clothes, expensive jewelry, high-end cosmetics. It was a shopping spree of epic proportions. My heart sank. She wasn't saving money. She was spending it, but not on us, on herself. I felt a wave of betrayal wash over me. She had lied to me. She had manipulated me. And she had made me feel guilty for wanting to spend time with her. I printed out the credit card statement and put it in my briefcase. I needed to confront her. But I wanted to do it calmly, rationally, and with all the evidence in hand. When she got home that evening, I was waiting for her in the living room. I had a fire going in the fireplace and a glass of wine in my hand. I wanted to create a calm, relaxed atmosphere. She walked in looking wary. "What's this?" she asked, gesturing to the fire and the wine. "Are you trying to apologize?" "Not exactly," I said, taking a sip of my wine. "I just want to talk." "About what?" she asked, her voice still tense. "About money," I said, setting down my glass. "And about honesty." I reached into my briefcase and pulled out the credit card statement. I handed it to her. She took it, her eyes widening as she recognized it. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I have my ways," I said, shrugging. "But that's not important. What is important is what's on this statement." She stared at the statement, her face paling. "Explain this to me, Anya," I said, my voice calm but firm. "Explain to me why you're telling me we can't afford us time when you're spending hundreds of dollars on designer clothes and jewelry." She didn't say anything. She just stood there, staring at the floor. "I deserve an explanation," I pressed. She finally looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say," she stammered. "Try the truth," I suggested. She took a deep breath. I have a problem," she admitted. "I have a shopping addiction." "A shopping addiction?" I repeated, incredulous. "Is that what you're calling it?" "It's true," she insisted. "I can't help myself. When I'm stressed or unhappy, I just buy things. It makes me feel better." "So you lied to me," I said, my voice flat. "You manipulated me, and you made me feel guilty for wanting to spend time with you, all so you could feed your shopping addiction." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry isn't enough, Anya," I said, shaking my head. "You've broken my trust. You betrayed me." "What are you going to do?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I need time to think." I walked out of the living room and went upstairs to our bedroom. I packed a bag and left the house. I spent the next few days at a hotel trying to sort through my thoughts and feelings. I was angry, hurt, and confused. I talked to a therapist who helped me understand that Anya's shopping addiction was a symptom of a deeper problem. She was using shopping to cope with her insecurities and her unhappiness, but that didn't excuse her behavior. She had still lied to me and betrayed my trust. I decided that I needed to take a stand. I couldn't let her continue to manipulate me. I needed to protect myself. I called a lawyer and started the process of filing for divorce. When I told Anya, she was devastated. She begged me to reconsider. She promised to get help for her shopping addiction. She said she would do anything to save our marriage, but I couldn't do it. I had lost all trust in her. I couldn't see a future for us. The divorce was finalized a few months later. It was a difficult and painful process, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I moved on with my life. I focused on my work, my friends, and my hobbies. I started dating again, but I was cautious. I wasn't ready to trust anyone completely. One day, I received a letter from Anya. She was in rehab, getting treatment for her shopping addiction. She apologized for her behavior and thanked me for forcing her to face her problems. She said that she was finally starting to understand herself and that she was grateful for the opportunity to rebuild her life. I felt a sense of closure. I was glad that she was getting help. I hoped that she would be able to find happiness. But I knew that we could never be together again. The trust was gone, and without trust, there is no foundation for a relationship. My petty move of zeroing out her budget line had exposed a much deeper issue, one that ultimately led to the end of our marriage. It was a painful lesson, but I learned that honesty and transparency are essential in any relationship, and that sometimes the best way to win is to walk away. That's the truth. I watched as she handed her keys to her new boyfriend. The same keys I gave her to our home. Welcome to Cheating Story Exposed. Please subscribe. My name is Greg, and I'm a financial advisor who understands risk, and I knew the risk I was taking when I decided to test my wife's loyalty. It all started with a promotion, a big one. I went from managing small accounts to overseeing multi-million-dollar portfolios. The pressure was immense, but the payoff was even greater. More money meant more security for my family, or so I thought. My wife Bethany seemed happy at first. She congratulated me, told me how proud she was. But as the weeks went by, I noticed a change in her behavior. She became distant, preoccupied. She started spending more time with her friends and less time with me. "Everything okay, Bate?" I asked one evening as she was getting ready to go out. "Yeah, why wouldn't it be?" she replied, avoiding my gaze. "I don't know," I said, shrugging. "You just seem different." "I'm fine, Greg," she snapped. "Just busy." I wanted to believe her, but something felt off. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something from me. Then came the budget. Bethany had always managed our household finances. She was good at it, meticulous even, but this time something was different. "Greg, we need to talk about the budget," she said one Saturday morning, her voice unusually serious. "Okay," I said, bracing myself. "What's up?" "Well," she began, "with your new promotion, our income has increased significantly. I've decided to make some adjustments to our spending." "Adjustments?" I asked cautiously. "What kind of adjustments?" "I've decided to allocate more money to savings and investments," she explained. "And I've cut back on some discretionary spending." "Discretionary spending?" I repeated, my eyebrows raised. "Like what?" "Like us time," she said, avoiding my gaze. "Us time?" I echoed, my voice laced with disbelief. "You're cutting back on date nights and weekend getaways." "It's just temporary, Greg," she insisted, "until we reach our financial goals." "And what are those financial goals?" I asked, feeling a knot forming in my stomach. "Retirement, college funds, you know, the usual," she said vaguely. "So how much did you budget for us time?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. She hesitated. "Zero. Zero, just like that." She had completely eliminated any budget for our time together. That's when I knew she was prioritizing everything over me. I felt a surge of anger, but I managed to control myself. I decided to play along to see how far she would go. "Okay, Bate," I said calmly. "If that's what you think is best, then fine." "Really?" she asked, surprised. "You're not going to argue? What's the point?" I said, shrugging. "You're in charge of the budget, you make the decisions." But I was already plotting my revenge. A subtle, calculated revenge. If she could budget zero for us time, then I could budget zero for her. I had access to our joint bank account, the one she meticulously monitored. I knew her passwords, her security questions, everything. It wouldn't be difficult to make a few changes. I waited until she was asleep that night, then I crept downstairs to my study. I logged into our bank account and created a new category in the budget, Bethany's expenses, and I assigned it a value of 0. I felt a sense of satisfaction, a small victory in what felt like a losing battle. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. I made her breakfast, kissed her goodbye, and went to work. I spent the day on edge, waiting for her to notice the change in the budget. But she didn't say a word. By the time I got home, I was starting to wonder if she had even checked the account. Maybe she was too busy with her friends, or maybe she was just playing it cool, waiting for the right moment to confront me. I walked into the house and found her in the kitchen, talking on the phone. She quickly ended the call when she saw me. "Who was that?" I asked casually. "Just a friend," she said, avoiding my gaze. "Oh, really?" I said, raising an eyebrow. "Which friend?" "It's not important, Greg," she snapped. "What's for dinner?" I decided to drop it for now. I didn't want to give her any reason to suspect that I knew something was wrong. The next day, I received a call from our bank. "Mr. Thompson," the woman on the other end of the line said. "I'm calling to verify a recent transaction on your account." "What kind of transaction?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "A transfer of funds from your joint account to an account in the name of Coastal Escapes," she said. "Coastal Escapes." That sounded like a travel agency, my travel agency. "I didn't authorize any such transfer," I said, my voice tight. "I understand, sir," the woman said. "We'll investigate this matter immediately. In the meantime, I've placed a hold on your account." I thanked her and hung up the phone. I felt a surge of anger, hotter and more intense than anything I had felt before. She was planning a trip, a secret trip, and she was using our joint funds to pay for it. I decided to confront her that evening. I waited until she got home from work, then I sat her down in the living room. "Bethany, we need to talk," I said, my voice calm but firm. "About what?" she asked, looking wary. "About Coastal Escapes," I said, watching her reaction. Her eyes widened in panic. "What do you know about Coastal Escapes?" she stammered. I know that you transferred funds from our joint account to an account in their name, I said. I know that you're planning a secret trip. She didn't say anything. She just sat there staring at the floor. Who are you going with, Bethany? I asked, my voice dangerously low. Are you having an affair? She burst into tears. It's not what you think, Greg, she sobbed. Then what is it? I demanded. Tell me the truth. She took a deep breath. I was planning a surprise trip for you, she said, her voice trembling. For our anniversary. I stared at her, speechless. A surprise trip for our anniversary. But why didn't you tell me? I asked, confused. I wanted it to be a surprise, she said. I didn't want to ruin it. But you lied to me, I said, shaking my head. You told me we couldn't afford us time. You budgeted $0 for our time together. I know, she said, her voice filled with regret. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. So you were lying to me about the budget, but not about the trip. I asked. Yes, she said, sniffling. I wanted to surprise you. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. I had accused her of having an affair. I had zeroed out her expenses in the budget, all because I had jumped to conclusions. I'm sorry too, Bate, I said, reaching out to take her hand. I should have trusted you. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with hope. Does this mean you're not mad? She asked. I'm still a little hurt, I admitted. I'm willing to forgive you, if you're willing to forgive me. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I forgive you, Greg, she said. I love you. I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. We had both made mistakes, but we were willing to work through them. We canceled the surprise trip and planned a new one together, one that we both knew about and were excited about. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Never jump to conclusions. Always communicate openly and honestly with your partner. And never ever mess with the budget. Trust is so fragile. I watched her walk away, suitcase in hand, disappearing into the crowd. I knew it was over. Welcome to Cheating Story Exposed. Please subscribe. My name is Arthur, and I'm a data analyst who believes in numbers, and the numbers didn't lie. My wife was emptying our bank account. It had been a slow burn, a gradual erosion of trust that I hadn't fully recognized until it was too late. My wife, Clara, and I had always been a team. We built a comfortable life together, a life based on mutual respect and shared goals. Or so I thought. The first crack appeared when Clara started taking on more freelance work. She was a talented graphic designer, and the extra income was welcome. But she became increasingly secretive about her projects, working late into the night and refusing to discuss the details with me. What are you working on, honey? I'd ask, trying to make conversation. Just some stuff for a client, she'd reply vaguely, her eyes glued to her computer screen. Nothing you'd be interested in. I tried not to be bothered by her evasiveness. I told myself that she was just focused on her work, that she needed her space. But a nagging doubt lingered in the back of my mind. Then came the budget. Clara had always been responsible for managing our household finances. She was organized and detail-oriented, and I trusted her implicitly. But one day, she sat me down and told me that we needed to make some adjustments to our spending. Arthur, I've been looking at our finances, she said, her voice serious, and I think we need to cut back on some non-essential expenses. Like what? I asked, feeling a sense of unease. Like us time, she said, avoiding my gaze. Us time, I repeated, my voice laced with disbelief. You're cutting back on date nights and weekend getaways. It's just temporary, Arthur, she insisted. Until we get our finances back on track. What are you talking about? I asked, my suspicion growing. We're not in financial trouble, are we? No, of course not, she said quickly. It's just I want to be more responsible with our money. So how much did you budget for us time? I asked, my voice dangerously low. She hesitated. Zero, just like that. She had completely eliminated any budget for our time together. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I felt a surge of anger, but I managed to control myself. I decided to play along to see what she was up to. Okay, Clara, I said calmly. If that's what you think is best, then fine. Really? She asked, surprised. You're not going to argue? What's the point? I said, shrugging. You're in charge of the budget, you make the decisions, but I was already formulating a plan to uncover the truth. If she could budget $0 for us time, then I could budget $0 for her. I knew it was petty, but I couldn't help myself. I needed to send her a message to let her know that I wasn't stupid. I had access to our joint bank account, the one she meticulously managed. I knew her passwords, her security questions, everything. It wouldn't be difficult to make a few changes. I waited until she was asleep that night, then I crept downstairs to my study. I logged into our bank account and created a new category in the budget, Clara's expenses, and I assigned it a value of $0. I felt a sense of satisfaction, a small victory in what felt like a losing battle. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. I made her breakfast, kissed her goodbye, and went to work. I spent the day on edge, waiting for her to notice the change in the budget. But she didn't say a word. By the time I got home, I was starting to wonder if she had even checked the account. Maybe she was too busy with her secret projects. Or maybe she was just playing it cool, waiting for the right moment to confront me. I walked into the house and found her in the kitchen, packing a suitcase. "What are you doing?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "I'm leaving Arthur," she said, her voice cold and detached. "Leaving?" I repeated, stunned. "Where are you going?" "It doesn't matter," she said. "I can't do this anymore." "Can't do what?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Can't pretend to love me." She didn't answer. She just continued packing her suitcase. "Is there someone else, Clara?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes," she said, "there is." I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I had loved and trusted for so many years, was leaving me for someone else. "Who is it?" I asked, my voice filled with pain. "It doesn't matter," she said. "It's over, Arthur. Just let me go." She picked up her suitcase and walked towards the door. "Wait," I shouted, desperate to salvage something from this disaster. "What about our finances? What about our joint account?" She stopped at the door and turned to face me. "I've already taken care of that," she said, a smug look on her face. "What do you mean?" I asked, my blood running cold. "I've emptied the account," she said. "I've transferred all the money to my own account." I stared at her, speechless. She had cleaned me out. She had taken everything. "You can't do that," I shouted. "That's our money." "Not anymore," she said, smirking. "It's mine now." She turned and walked out the door, leaving me standing there in stunned silence. I immediately logged into our bank account and checked the balance. It was zero. She had taken every last penny. I felt a surge of rage, hotter and more intense than anything I had ever felt before. She had betrayed me, lied to me, and stolen from me. I called a lawyer and started the process of filing for divorce. I also filed a police report accusing her of theft. It took months of legal wrangling, but I eventually managed to recover some of the money she had stolen. The divorce was finalized, and I was finally free from her grasp. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Never trust anyone completely. Always protect yourself, both emotionally and financially, and never, ever underestimate the power of a scorned data analyst. I used my skills to track her down, to uncover her lies, and to bring her to justice. In the end, I may have lost my wife, but I gained something even more valuable: my freedom.